Greetings. The purpose of this screencast is to give you an overview of Google Classroom. Google Classroom is really just a very fancy shared folder. As a matter of fact, the first time a teacher creates or a person joins a Google Classroom, a special folder is created on that user's My Drive, the Google Classroom folder. Don't ever delete that folder. Here's mine on My Drive. And inside of it are hundreds of subfolders, all of which are actually connected to a Google Classroom that I taught or was a student in. Now, these folders are not very pretty. They're just folders. But when a teacher accesses that special feature called Google Classroom, the plain old folder gets a very snazzy and well-decorated cover, so to speak. Let's look. A teacher creates a Google Classroom and students are invited to participate. Once a student joins, they see the many materials the teacher posts and they can access digital assignments. Teachers can provide digital support within the shell of Google Classroom and they can grade assignments within Google Classroom. Teachers can invite other adults to be co-teachers in a Google Classroom. The co-teachers have the same access and edit abilities as the original teacher. Let's start by taking a quick tour of the different tabs of Google Classroom. Google Classroom always opens to the stream. Teachers can post announcements for students on the stream, and some teachers also have the stream show all the classwork and homework items. Over here is the upcoming reminders. This shows the items due within the next few days. But if we click on View All, we can see everything that needs to be reviewed or graded. Now this is the teacher view. Students have the same basic setup, but their upcoming is connected to a to-do list. Let's go back to our main Google Classroom page, and let's look at the People tab for a minute. We can see who the teachers and co-teachers are and who the students are. As teachers, we can invite parents and guardians to get Google Classroom summaries. Parents and guardians are not allowed to join a Google Classroom. That would be a violation of student data privacy. But they can be invited to connect to the classroom and receive daily or weekly updates on their students' progress. We would do that by clicking the Invite Guardians tab. So if there's a name here under Email All Guardians, it means the child has an adult, a parent, a guardian attached. And if it says Invite Guardians, then the teacher or co-teacher can input those adult emails. Let's look at the Grades tab. This is Google Classroom's version of a gradebook. Right now, it's looking pretty empty because we haven't done any grading, but we'll come back to it later. The Classwork tab is the one that we really want to focus on. Up here at the top, we can see that there's a quick link to Google Meet. AUSD won't be using this since we have Zoom. The link to the Google Calendar shows all of the assignments for this one Google Classroom. And this is a quick link to the folder on my Drive, the not so pretty folder that corresponds to this Google Classroom. Over here, we have a table of contents organized by topic for quick searching within the Google Classroom. And we can see here's topic week number 1, and that matches over here to week 1, vocab list to vocab list. Let's look at what's posted in week number 1. The first thing I want to point out are the different icons. Notice the clipboard, the question mark, and I think this is supposed to be a piece of paper with a bookmark. The clipboard means it's either a Google assignment or a Google quiz. The question mark means it's a Google question, and this one, the bookmark one, that means that it's materials, which is kind of like a handout. Materials are not graded, but assignments, questions, and quizzes all have point values. We can also see that there are due dates over here. Students see this similarly. I'm going to go ahead and open this first assignment. I saw that it was just a line item, and when I open it up, I have a slightly broader view of what that assignment is. I can see that one student has turned it in, and one student it is still assigned to. That means that student hasn't turned it in yet. Let's look at what happens when we say View Assignment. Oh, we get a much more detailed version of that turn-in status. And this is the first layer of the grading shell. We can see that Lincoln turned it in and LMS has not yet turned it in. We can see that over here in these tiles as well. Lincoln is turned in and we can see what looks to be like a Google Doc with some writing on it, and LMS has no attachments and there's nothing written right there. We can also see that Lincoln left the teacher a private note. And if I click on this, I'll get Lincoln's more dialed in view. And as the teacher, we can write a private comment back to Lincoln. I'm going to go ahead and open up this assignment that Lincoln submitted. And we're inside the grading shell. From here, we can highlight and leave margin comments. We have access to a bigger comment bank. We can leave a numerical grade. We can return the assignment, and we can move back and forth to other students. I'm not going to return it quite yet. I'm going to go back to the original grading shell. Because from here, I can click on it, and I can put in a numerical score, and then I can also return it from right here. And I can leave Lincoln a private comment. So there's quite a few opportunities to provide feedback for students. Let's go back to our mock classroom Classwork tab. So I'm going to look at my next assignment, the learner profile, and it's telling me that nobody's turned it in yet, and it's been assigned to 2 students. The one thing I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open this assignment for us. I'm going to come to the instructions, and we can see on the instructions how many points it's worth. We can see that there's a template attached, and we can see when it is due. I could also leave comments for the entire class. So if I forgot to remind them to include a cover page or to use a certain font, I could send the whole class a message. Let's go back to the main classroom page. All right, we're going to land on our next assignment, which is Big Project. And from this one, we can see that the teacher loaded in several supporting files. It doesn't look like anyone's turned it in. I'm going to go ahead and view that assignment, and no one's turned it in, but I noticed something, and this is something that happens pretty frequently. LMS student hasn't attached anything, and there's no words or no document, little fold over corner. But over here at Lincoln, I can see what looks like tiny words. I can see that blue fold over. I'm going to go ahead and open it and see what happens. Oh, there's Lincoln's big project that he worked really hard on. But he forgot to press the turn in button on the student side. And this happens really frequently to students. So as a teacher, I can still grade it, I can still leave comments, and I have access to it because he did attach it. He just forgot to press the turn in button. That is something we should work on reminding students to do. Let's go back to our classwork page. We can also load Google Forms as quizzes. And so they look a little bit different. They'll say quiz next to them, but they function like any other assignment in Google Classroom. We can see down here that I've got a question, what's your favorite animal? One person's turned it in and it's still assigned. And when I look at it, this was a short answer question. And as the teacher, I can leave a reply for that student. I have another type of question right here, and this one was a multiple choice. And an interesting thing about multiple choice questions is that the class can see the results. It's kind of like a poll. They can't see who answered what, only the teacher can see that, but it is a way you can sort of vote or use it as an exit ticket. And when I click on it, I can see that Lincoln responded that salad was more nutritious. So the teachers can see which student answered which way. And then the last thing is that we can post things that are just resources, that there's no grade involved. And this might be material to help support a unit for students. That was kind of a quick tour of all the things in a Google Classroom, but maybe you're wondering how they all got there. And they all got there by pressing the same button, the Create button. As a teacher, we have a Create button, and we can create assignments, quiz assignments, questions, post materials, we can create a topic, and we can even reuse an assignment from another Google Classroom. And so we just click on that, and it's pretty self-explanatory. We'd title it, we'd give it directions, we can add an existing file from our Google Drive, a YouTube video, Or we can create a brand new file specific to this assignment. We can come over here and we can change the number of points something is worth, and we can even decide that it's not graded. Maybe it's a completion only. We can give it a due date, and we can even say that we want it to be at a specific time. We can assign it one of our already existing topics, or we can create a new topic. And if we're using rubrics, we can attach a rubric, and we can even use what's called the plagiarism checker. All of those things are part of regular assignments. And I want to point out this thing right here. It's for this mock Google Classroom. That's the classroom I'm in right now, but I could assign it to any of my other ones as well. And right now, this assignment is going to all of my students. But maybe I want to differentiate my instruction and make a student-specific assignment. I can uncheck some students, and in this case, only Lincoln would see this assignment. So that's a way that we can individualize work for students within Google Classroom and offer differentiated instruction. And when I'm all done, let me just put in a title. I can go ahead and either assign it right now, schedule it for later, or if I'm not quite all the way done, I can save it as a draft. And now it'll be in my Google Classroom and my students will have access to it.